Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you're having a great day today. Today, we are going to be going over the modes of storytelling. And by the end of this lesson, hopefully, you will be able to recognize all 5 of the modes of storytelling. So, just jumping right in. So, looking at this little bit from the story that we've already read, The Frog, with the person beside you, you're going to discuss the following questions. So, what is happening in this scene? What plans do the parents have for the night? And how do you know? How does the narrator feel about the wedding? How do you know? And picturing the scene in your mind, what does it look like? What furniture do you see? How are the people positioned in the room? And how do you know that? So I'll just go ahead and put the questions on the screen here in the blue box. So everything I just said, all of the questions are in there. Just pause the video for a second here and discuss with the person beside you. So now hopefully you had a chance to talk with the person beside you and to decide how you know all of these things. And so that is the main goal today. So even though this reads like one of the continuous set of sentences, the author is actually doing a lot of different things here at once. So in this lesson, we're going to look at how writers use different techniques to create a story, as seen here. So with that being said, we're going to go over the 5 modes for storytelling. And this includes narration, description, dialogue, interior monologue, and exposition. And usually all of the 5 of these are in one story at a given time, but they're usually all mixed up together. So the first one would be narration, and this is when the writer tells you something is happening. So these are like the live action parts of a story where we can actually picture characters doing things. So here's an example from that same story, The Frog. I laid the bag on its side in front of him, then grabbed a tennis racket and tried to gently nudge him to go inside. Instead, he hopped to the left and got even closer to me, causing me to drop the racket and run screaming back to my room. So this gives us an idea of actual actions that are happening in this story. And then next we have description. So the description is a detailed look at something in the story. And so this would appeal to at least one of the 5 senses. So for example, in the dim hallway, his squatty little body was a silhouette in the light coming from the living room, like a buffalo wing someone had dropped on the floor. So this would be a description of the frog and how it looks. So next would be dialogue. So the dialogue is where the character speaks out loud, and their dialogue is written in quotation marks. So an example being, she exhaled hard. Chloe can't come. My dad looked up from tying his shoes. What happened? Stomach virus, Mom said, tossing her phone on the bed. So as you can see here, all of the dialogue is in the quotation marks. And this is when someone is actually speaking. So next would be interior monologue. And this is where we see characters' thoughts. So an example from the story would be when Bree is talking to herself about getting rid of the frog. Seriously, girl, I thought to myself, you're like 100 times bigger than him. Just end this already. So here we see Bree talking to herself. We see her thoughts. This isn't her actually talking. It's just all in her head, and she's talking through her thoughts. And then finally, it's the exposition. So this is where we learn facts or background information about the characters, setting, and situation. So in this example, we learn who Chloe is. We also learn that Bree's parents understand that she might feel embarrassed to have a babysitter. So in the past, they have used another term for babysitting. So the example is, Chloe is a college student, the daughter of my parents' friends, and they say she just comes over to hang out with me. So in the past, instead of saying she comes over to babysit, they say hang out, which makes it seem like it's not babysitting to Bree, although she knows that that is exactly what it is. So most writers take all 5 of those modes and mix them up in their stories. So in this section of The Frog, it actually contains all 5 modes of storytelling. So take a few moments with the person beside you and try to find every single part of this story and decide which mode it is. So pause the video, just take a minute to discuss with the person beside you. So hopefully you had enough time. If not, you can pause it again. But we're going to move on to the answers now. So here we go. So just take a look, see how you did. So when you're writing your own story, try to do the same thing. Use all 5 modes to tell your story, but make sure you're weaving them together to keep things interesting. So you're not putting all of the dialogue at one time or all of the description at one time, or you're not describing the characters and the setting all at one time. You want to break it up to keep things interesting throughout your story, because if you have it all at once, you're going to have a really content-heavy part of your story, and the rest are kind of going to be a little bit flat. So now what you're going to be doing is you're going to be playing, I guess, a little bit of a game. So in this activity, you are going to be sorting the sentences from, you guessed it, the same story, The Frog. And you're going to try to decide which mode of storytelling is being used. So with a partner at a desk, you are going to be given a few sentences and you must put them in their specific category and then label it above with a sticky note. And then after, you will be going over the answers, which will be on the board once everybody is done. So make sure you put them in their proper categories. Really look over to make sure you're doing it properly, and then we'll see how you do. Good luck!